stationed there just, you know, to kind of look over things for a little while, and they had rifles. And it was so shocking to me. And you know, and these are people who should kind of like, you know, be like able to carry guns because they're you know, part of our armed forces.
And it's supposed to be like an extraneous situation as well, you know, after nine
Yes.
11. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. I mean, I understood, like, it's not like I felt like they necessarily shouldn't be there, but it was a very shocking sight to me, you
Yeah.
know, and it felt oppressive. That's really that was the thing that was the worst about it, is that it just felt like I did not feel safe around them, even though that they were there to make me feel safe. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And
Yeah.
so it
It was
totally, and so that's just a big reason why it totally sucks. And the thing is that it's like you're a parent, you're in some fucking Walmart, some guy walks in with a rifle. How the fuck do you separate that person from somebody who potentially could be some crazy guy who's about to
Yeah.
start picking everyone off?
Yeah, I like.
And
I've had like a fear of that. I have like a fear of that stuff. So like, see someone who's awkward. I'll go to like the store. I'll go to CVS and I'll see someone who's walking around a little awkwardly, and I'll notice like the smallest little thing, and I'll be like, I don't know, is that a gun? Is that something else? Should I like do my stuff quicker? Should I leave the store faster?
sure, isn't it fucked up that that's like, you know, something that we have to worry ourselves with?
Yeah,
And it's a
like right after Sandy Hook, people were blaming it on like, oh, we don't have enough God in schools. Oh, we don't have guards. It's they don't recognize the fact that if guns weren't so open, we wouldn't have to half the country wouldn't be crying over stuff like this. We would have the right to recognize, like, oh, we need to have tighter restrictions. You need to have your guns. You can't carry around a gun that can penetrate a tank in the backseat of your car.
What do you mean,
Yeah.
George? Don't wrap me out like that, George.
yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
But you know, it's strange too because there's also a very much double standard with guns, and a lot of people don't understand that an increase in gun ownership. You know, it's just the same thing. Like going back to Atheist Rue, where like you know maybe he's not a racist, maybe he just doesn't understand anything about American history. Because like gun ownership in American history. Oh yeah, that explained it. Yeah, he's you know like screw him, being from America, we don't need him. But because you know us from America, we understand that a big part of our history was people needed to own guns so that way a minority can like oppress a majority, which was like a big part of slavery was they weren't allowed to own guns. The ranch owners and everything had their weapons, and we see that played out today where an African American man. You know, he can't carry around a toy, but you can have a whole group of like white guys like marching around in Target with like the real weapon, with like their ammo. Like, you know, they can like claim that the ammo is separated from it, but you know, like
We
it's
don't
easy
really
to just like
know
put
if-
right in.
Yeah.
Like,
We don't really
yeah,
know if they just
Some
fucking
people
put the
make
bullets
the
in real
argument
quick.
that, like, in extremes, you should be able to have a 50 cal gun and with incendiary ammo on your car, just in case of one small scenario. And I'm like, all right, but doesn't that seem a little bit excessive?
Yeah, and it also it's a very big detriment to like our culture and how we can like converse with each other because you know like in England and in other countries people they like know how to like fight better, they know how to handle themselves better, they have better like conflict resolution skills in general because there's no like it's not even so much guns, it's knives too. Like Americans it's very scary like being here because you think you're just going to get in like an altercation with someone and then you know out comes a knife or out comes a gun, as opposed to if you're like in Canada or in England, you know you're
Yeah,
just
they
gonna
try and
deal
talk
with
it out a lot
fist.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another thing, you know, that like when I was like a kid or you know a teenager, my friends we used to like go out at night and go like fucking pool hopping and stuff, and like you know
Yeah.
I lived in like sort of a nice neighborhood, and my neighbors were way richer than us, and had just like these amazing pools and shit. So yeah, we do that, and I'm sure lots of kids still do that to this day. But it's like now, if I have a kid, I am going to like beg them not to do anything like that because, like you know, now I think that there's just people who are so trigger happy. I mean, it really has changed. It wasn't like that like 20 years ago. It really wasn't.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's before or that was the catalyst, but I saw like everything changing with George Zimmerman. Just the way that the media got away with his like portrayal and sort of hiding his background. Like a big thing was they tried to always say like George R. R. Martin was not George R. R. Martin, sorry, Trayvon Martin was. Woo! All right,
Yeah, we're that late into the podcast. We're that late into the podcast.
Yeah, George R. R. Martin is a thug. He's a killer. Everyone knows that. But Trayvon Martin, though, they always try to say he was like a violent guy or whatever. But his big thing is like he had the residue of marijuana in a bag that had like little kid jewelry in it. But if you look at the George Zimmerman history, it's like he's 18, 19, 20, he's under legally drinking age at a strip club assaulting a police officer. He's shooting his fiance's dog. His fiance's asking for a restraining order. And after the whole like Trayvon Martin incident, we see him with like 2 different girlfriends. He got the one that he had pregnant, came to her house, shoved her outside of her house, closed the door, and like we have the 911 calls of her trying to like get inside of her house. And the girlfriend that he had during the trial, he had her embezzle money for him. And after everything was said and done, he went to her house and like punched her dad in the face, like grabbed her iPad, shot it with his new shotgun.
Didn't he?
Seems like a really good
someone
guy.
too, like in like on the street or something, or not on the street, but like in like road rage or something. Like I want to say that something like that happened with him.
Yeah, him
Yeah.
and the guy kept having like a back and forth, and I don't blame the guy. I mean, it's weird. It's like we know how like sociopaths act. Like there's stories about them in movies. Like even if you haven't had first life account of them, like he sounds like a sociopath. Like the guy goes to shoot Zimmerman like from his car because like I mean that is a sensible thing to do. Like George Zimmerman has a
when my dad was younger, he used to him and his best friend had a gun in his locker, even though they were only like 14, 15. He had a gun in his locker, and he threatened to pull the gun on a kid who was just got too tired of the kid, and he nearly shot the kid. And he got suspended. He didn't get suspended. He got expelled, and he had to move almost. I think it was out of country. So they took it a lot more serious back then. Like you might like resolve it with like the parents, but now if somebody does, people are a lot more suspicious of each other.
Yeah, like I remember when I was a kid, like very innocently, like one of my friends got expelled for bringing his BB gun to like gym class to sell to another kid, like in the locker, and immediately it was just like zero tolerance, like weapon policy, even though it was a known BB gun. It's just
BB guns
weird.
are still dangerous, man.
Yeah,
You fill that thing with a goddamn metal BB. Oh, there goes your eyeball, man.
yeah.
Oh, they had kids who were trying to sell each other airsoft guns when I was in like 4th grade, and they got expelled. And it was
Obviously, you haven't gone to my school. We sell AK-47s out the locker.
Yeah, right.
Along with my cocaine stash.
Felicia High. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Would you guys like to hear a pretty crazy, but I think very entertaining story?
Oh yes.
Okay, so I went to this school called Professional Children's School in Manhattan, which had like just a lot of eccentric types. And there was this kid named Ayato, and for about like a year or so, we didn't think that he even really spoke English. We had a lot of Asian students who were fucking musicians that went to like Juilliard and stuff like that, and they like were actually like concert musicians and whatnot. And we figured that he was one of those. And one time I was in the library, and I was joking with one of my friends, and I said like, "Fuck you, man." And this guy goes, he had been in kind of like the back of the library for a little while, just like for the duration of the time that we were there. And he hears me say "fuck you," and he gets up and he goes, "Fuck you!" and we all start laughing hysterically, right? And then he comes up to us and he just keeps on saying, "Fuck you, fuck you!" Totally just kind of hamming it up, and we were dying. We lost it, right?
Yeah.
So for about like a few weeks, like every time we'd see him anywhere, like any one of us, we'd just like, you know, we'd go like, fuck you, and he'd go, fuck you back. So anyhow, about like maybe like 3 weeks of that, we finally realized that the guy actually kind of speaks English. I mean, not incredibly well, but much better than we thought he did.
Yeah.
And so we start hanging out with him, not like a lot, only because he always was kind of this a little bit mysterious, you know. And so one day I'm hanging out with him, and he says to me, he goes, "Hey, Vadim, you want to see something?" And my accent is terrible. That sounds more French than it does Japanese. But anyway,
Made him sound like Arabic or something.
yeah.
Bloody.
I'm actually good at accents, but I have to study them before. Anyway, so
But
this
he's a terrorist.
guys, this is where the story gets really good. Okay, so he's like, "Do you want to see something?" And I was like, "Sure." And he takes me to his locker. He opens the locker, and he takes out this fucking gun. He takes out this gun, and get this, it's a fucking golden gun, okay?
Oh, damn.
And I forgot to tell you, it turned out that this guy is like a gazillionaire. His father is like this eccentric Japanese, like, business tycoon. And he owned like 3 stories in Manhattan, which if you know, like, I mean, that you have to have millions and millions of dollars just for that alone.
Or was the joke in American Psycho about that? It's murders and acquisitions, not mergers. I know, murders and executions, not mergers and acquisitions.
Right. It's been a while since I've seen that, but this is the kicker here. Okay, so he takes out this gun. I mean, he didn't really like take it out. He like, had it half in his locker and just enough to show me. And I was like, holy shit, dude, what? Why the fuck are you bringing that to school, dude?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, don't worry. And he basically like told me, he was like, look, I had it made just because I like crazy shit, basically, and I wanted a gun made out of gold, and so I was like, okay, do you have any bullets for that thing? And I swear to God, he takes out, like, he had them in his pocket, and he shows me these bullets. They're of course made out of gold, and he's like, take a look at them, and I look at them, and engraved on the bullet is "fuck you."
Oh
Can
my
you imagine
god!
being killed by a "fuck you" bullet? I mean, it's like
It had your name
that's
written
just
all
so
over it.
poetically perfect, But yeah, he was a real character. And the last thing I'll say is that our senior year yearbook, which he signed, he was an excellent artist as well as like a killer saxophone player. But he basically drew this like little picture, like a profile of me, and it had me saying "fuck you," and there was like there were pictures of bullets there. And it just, I don't know, man. He was a real, like, still to this day, I think of that guy a lot because he was pretty, like, just an amazing character.
You know what happened to him?
Yeah.
God, he sounds amazing.
Yeah. He also, another thing about him was that he was a male model, and he was like, 6.
He was the triple threat, man.
Yeah, totally. The guy just had so many awesome
chicks?
things going on.
You get the check?
For sure. What?
You get the ladies, man?
He was a ladies' man.
I assume he was straight, but I don't know. I can't say for sure. Pretty damn sure he was straight, but I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
George was
The world was
hoping he
his
wasn't.
No, I asked if he was a ladies' man, if he got all the...
No, well, our school was... I don't think that socially it was really set up very well for a student like him to date that much. I mean, he didn't speak English incredibly well. I went to a very kind of strange school. It was called Professional Children's School, and it's a school that a lot of people who live in the New York area who kind of sometimes have professional lives would go to. So, I mean, people who went to my school while I was there include Sarah Michelle Gellar, Tara Reid, Donald Faison. I don't know if you know who that is. He's a black actor who was in Clueless and a lot of he's in tons of things. He was on Scrubs. He's the black guy.
Oh,
on Scrubs.
yeah.
I was about to guess that. But,
Yeah, he was actually a damn good. He was a very good friend of mine. Really cool guy. Jerry O'Connell. I don't know if you know who that is.
You know the black guy from Stargate?
No, I do not know the black guy from Stargate. You're not talking about
the alien one, right?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
are you talking about the Ferengi guy?
Yeah, Ferengi.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm mixing up Star Trek and Stargate. No,
You're
I'm
mixing up the good one with
the totally good one.
It's pretty
Yeah.
dangerous. Watch
No.
out, though. Those fans are ravenous.
I've actually never
Sure.
really watched Stargate the series, so
Yeah.
Did you watch
Same
the
here.
movie at least?
I've watched the movie. Yes.
Movie's amazing.
That one, shit.
I think it was
Oh, yeah.
the black guy in Stargate. My mom, when she went to Cal Arts,
Oh, you're talking about the guy who was in the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, then you're okay. I always think of him more as from the Crying Game.
So if I was wondering though, like a little bit of aside, if like you went to school with Jerry O'Connell, like what's the reaction when something like Joe's Apartment comes out, where it's like one of those like little silly things, and you're like, it's awesome, but he's never getting anything for that.
I don't know. I mean, he wait. Oh, you. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. So
Yeah, same here.
you think it's a good movie, or
Yeah, like I think it's pretty good. I mean, I haven't seen it since I was MTV age.
Have
You know,
you seen-
since I was the demographic. You know,
I think most actors that work consistently, you have to be super lucky to be an actor like, say, I don't know.
even a Tara Reid. You know,
No, Tara Reid is kind of in his like someone like Ewan McGregor. Okay, I don't know why it jumped out to me, but he's someone who is so good and he for the most part can guide his career into doing exclusively good work if he wants to.
Yeah.
Whereas someone like Jerry O'Connell, even though that he works quite often, I think that he's still someone who just has to take work sometimes just to pay the bills and also to keep his name out there, So inevitably, someone like him is going to do some crap, and he's also going to do some stuff that is just really awesome that goes unappreciated, and whatnot. I think Jerry's a great guy, and he's done some good work. I still think that he hasn't really kind of done that much that showed off his potential. He usually he's often cast as the meathead in kind of subpar comedies, and hopefully one day he'll get something that really kind of allows him to show off both his dramatic and comedic muscle, and that is well written and whatnot. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not getting pedantic here.
Speaking of movies, have any of you seen Jurassic World?
Yeah.
Spoilers, just in case.
Spoilers. Skip to after we're done talking about that.
I mean, I thought it sucked, but I thought it sucked. Yet at the same time, you know what? I felt like I sort of got my money's worth. I mean, there was the last hour felt like just the just purely the action was sort of decent, but there were just, I mean, so many things that I disliked about it. I felt there were so many choices that the movie made that robbed it of suspense. It could have been way more suspenseful, and I mean, just the fact. I mean, a lot of people have pointed this out, but the fact that the Bryce Dallas Howard character is outruns a fucking dinosaur
in high heels.
That's absurd. And I hated her character. I did not feel like her character, as a result of her stupidity, her character ends up sending a lot of people to their death, and I did not feel like there was a moment where she kind of like if somebody does that in a movie, they have to have a moment where they kind of grasp what it is that they fucking did. And there was no moment like that for her, and she ended up being the hero at the end. And the last thing I'll say is that what a waste of that Chris, you know, what's his name guy? Yeah,
Chris
Chris.
Pratt. He's done really good stuff. Have any of you guys seen Parks and Rec? I think that's what he was on.
Oh yeah, no, he's hilarious. And in this, I just felt like he you hire Chris Pratt to Chris Pratt out. You know, that's what you do. And he was just kind of there.
He's gonna play Indiana Jones apparently in a reboot.
Well, that's perfect, because I'm positive that, you know, in that they won't be so stupid as to like not allow him to like kind of show his comedic skills. Like they totally like they whipped him into submission in that movie, and he just felt like so contained. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like I thought that he was horrible or anything, but it's just like, come on,
like,
I want to have some fun here. What?
Like, I noticed that a lot about, like, Chris Pratt. Like, I thought Parks and Rec was pretty funny, but the bloopers are even better with, like, just for him. Like, remember, he has that one clip where they're, like, making jokes about, like, oh, when you talk about, like, a comeback story, and he mentions Kim Kardashian, she had come on her back. You know, people love a comeback story, you know? And, like, stuff like that they cut out of the show. Like, I think that's what he'd be great in, so... I just don't.
That's a really good. Well, the comeback thing is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a real.
That's why I love her. It's a great comeback story.
Yeah.
So, how many of you are into the whole like Marvel movie universe thing, or into the whole Marvel verse?
You know, I was until like a recent like little like thunder like rainstorm here in New Mexico hardly happens, but it left me with power but no internet last night. So I watched Blade again, like on DVD for like the first time in a long time, and I realized how much I just do not care for like modern Marvel, because it's one of those things. It's like you need like perspective.
Yeah, but Blade was done in like the 90s.
It's not really
that
modern.
thing was sick though. Like I just loved everything about it. Like the whole thing where like vampires are a metaphor for the man.
Have you seen
where
Blade
they
2?
own the police? Oh yeah, I've seen all of them. And
Blade
like,
2 kicks ass. It holds up. Guillermo del Toro. I don't know if you know who that is. He's this. He's pretty well known. But yeah, he did that, and I thought that was 10 times better than the original Blade.
I got really pissed off when he got totally cheated out of The Hobbit. Like, oh, I guess he didn't get cheated out. He started doing other work, but I was really sad when he wasn't the director on The Hobbit.
I could like he deserves it, but you know what? Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just not a Tolkien guy. Those movies, to tell you the truth, they bore the fuck out of me.
I mean, no, see, but that's the thing. Like, that's me as like a Tolkien fan. Like, I think they kind of like fucked up by making it without like sort of accepting like all of the culture, which is Tolkien. Like Led Zeppelin, which is a big part of it.
Right.
There's like a whole like following around it, but they decided to sort of like
he has a whole nother.
I will admit, if you throw some Zeppelin into like those movies, I'd be more willing to like them.
Yeah, like if it was like an hour and a half of like these dwarves, like, you know, doing like, I guess like the like acoustic Zeppelin covers or something, as they travel around.
Perfect.
And then crazy stuff happens to them, so you care. Like, oh no, Boffer, like you had that great solo that one time. You know, don't die. That would have been nice.
I totally see where you're coming from on that, for sure.
Yeah.
I still think that Marvel is Disney. Once they purchased Marvel, that kind of changed things. Because after Disney bought Marvel, things kind of went up. Because now, before then, Marvel had been known for making like crappy live-action stuff, and
not putting their names on good stuff.
Yeah, they weren't putting their names on good stuff, and DC was known for making the better animated flicks. So then after Disney purchased it, they made Iron Man, which I still think it holds up for me relatively well.
I think all 3 of the Iron Man movies are decent. The third one, not, you know, a little less.
Good if they hadn't like changed it to make him like not be like a fraud.
And for
pissed
me, like
off.
I would have liked it if they did not give Pepper Potts the like weird MacGuffin device. If like she was just allowed to
She could have been a stronger character. That's what I think.
cheat it better, which I thought was going to do with that, because that's what it is in like the comic book story. Like after, like in the comic books, like that Marvel Civil War happens, and then the whole like world buys like Stark Industry technology. Aliens figure out how to tack into it, so they completely like wreck Earth
Yeah.
on their little secret evasion thing, and then Tony Stark is on the run because everyone blames him for that, and then
Then
Pepper
Norman
Potts has
Osborn.
all this stuff.
Yeah, Norman Osborn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like everyone else gets to play with Tony's things, and it's like showing like how much better everyone else is at Tony
That was a
if they have the
concept
same
for a
access that
thing.
he
It was
does.
a story arc where they had an alternate universe in which they had the Armor Wars thing, in which that one guy would have basically made it just not a. The suits wouldn't have just been Tony's thing; they would have gotten out everywhere. So everybody and their mother would have had a suit, and they wouldn't have been used for peace. Militaries would have used them, shit like that.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see that, but instead they of course have to make it the Robert Downey Jr. vehicle, which he's cool.
Yeah, Robert
But
Downey Jr.
that's-
plays a
that's
very
what-
good Iron Man. He's my choice for him.
Yeah, he's cool. Like,
I wish
I
I wish Hugh Jackman wouldn't have to cut off as Wolverine, because I really like him as Wolverine.
I feel completely useless in this conversation. I don't know anything of what you're talking about.
So you're including Wolverine in the Marvel and the X-Men movies in this Marvel conversation, because although that those that Marvel doesn't technically produce the X-Men movies and the Spider-Man movies. So
now they are. They are now, technically.
they are now. Yeah, I heard that they were possibly going to be doing that, so that's kind of
They are
cool.
making a Spider. He's going to show up in the Avengers, and in Ant-Man. They make a few couple of references. Did you watch Daredevil?
Yeah, I wasn't as crazy about it as a lot of
Same here.
people.
But Matt Murdock, he shows up in Daredevil.
it doesn't get good really until like spoilerly. Like I would say,
Yeah.
you know when I would
The
like
last
I guess not too much of a
episodes.
spoiler, but like when the thing that gets him his final costume, I felt like that conversation like needed to happen episode 1. Because until like that conversation happens, like I don't give a shit. It seems like Matt Murdock's an irresponsible dickhead who's just beating up like victims.
I had more than a lot of problems. I had stylistic and like quality problems with Daredevil. I just that there are certain actors on the show that really kind of irritate me, and
His side cast was totally forced.
Sidekick totally incredibly forced, and I don't
Yeah.
like that as like a writer. I don't
Apparently
like
Matt-
having like one go to.
Apparently, Matt Murdock is the guy who
the-
gets Scott Lang out of jail in Ant-Man. So they have Matt Murdock in Ant-Man, and he gets him out of jail.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked all the original Avengers references too. I thought that was neat.
And, if you look at the newspaper when they're at the, I don't know, they're at the reporter thing. If you look closely, apparently you can see Spider-Man in the picture.
There's,
Yeah, but
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was yeah, saying like you go ahead. So you go.
Well, there's one thing, and this is not actually something that I think is necessarily bad about the series, and it's already kind of I can't help but find fucking silly as hell.
Yeah.
The fact that he is this super genius in more ways than one. He's a legal genius, and he's also an athletic genius.
And he's a good person too.
Yes, and he's a good person, and yet he is still like mired in this bullshit. I mean, he still like kind of believes this stuff, and I know that he kind of like they're kind of playing this whole like he's conflicted, but he still believes. He still has faith, and this and the whole. It's all. I mean, come on, we know it's all absurd nonsense, and the fact that in like this day and age, he wouldn't kind of crack that code. Come on, give me a fucking break.
Well,
So-
I mean, it's this weird sort of disconnect where, like, a big part about superheroes is that it's like the cultural breakaway from like religion and magic into a world where we got like fantasy science,
yeah.
you know, and
Didn't they have that whole
so, like, the
argument about why Peter Parker isn't really an underdog anymore, being a white straight nerd?
Oh my god, look, that's
Yeah.
like they say that, but he's always an underdog just because like his life never ends up well. But I mean, and back to Daredevil, it's because I had that same problem with the Catholic thing, and like none of the fans, like even like Razor Fist, everybody, they really couldn't like explain to me like why I have to accept that all Catholics are good people when, you know, like I'm an Irish American, like just like Murdoch. I was raised Catholic just like Murdoch, and unlike Murdoch, when I went through like the first communion, I had to go through church. I got the sacrament wine, and I went through all the rites. I did confessional, and then one day I'm being forced to like go to church instead of watch Pokemon one morning. And I was like, you know, well, fuck this. I'm bored. I don't know any of the songs. I want to learn the songs so I can catch up. I read through the book and, you know, see in there that what is it? Sin number 1 is like being smart. You know, eating from the tree of knowledge. And I'm like, well, I get good grades. Obviously, these people hate me. And then I would read things like the Langston Hughes poem. And I saw Passion of the Christ without even knowing what Passion of the Christ was. I thought it was a senior prank. I thought like it was like a kid who was like on a board and he wasn't nailed to it, but he like held on to nails while he was being dragged around by 2 kids in like a Roman Legionnaires costumes.
Okay.
And I was just late coming onto the playground that day, like looking at like a cattle pitter or something. And then I turned back and I saw that, and that was the creepiest fucking thing to me as a kid. And I didn't realize what it was until I saw Passion of the Christ with Mel Gibson to like realize like the weird sort of damaging shit Catholics do to children. And
Did you guys see the South Park thing they did on Mel Gibson?
oh god.
yeah,
Yeah, I've seen it. I think we've all have.
it is the whole thing. Like in Daredevil, we just have to accept like, oh, he's a good person because he's Catholic. That's complete bullshit. It rubbed me all the wrong way, and what it is I definitely recommend checking out like what Frank Miller has to say, because he's the one who sort of like reinvented Batman and Daredevil for our generations.
Yeah.
And they always refer back to him when they make new Daredevil or Batman stuff. And Frank Miller says that only a Catholic could be a big enough hypocrite to be a lawyer and a vigilante, which is something the show doesn't do. You know, they talk about Catholicism like it's a good thing. Frank Miller, the guy who wrote him, says like, no, he's a Catholic because he's full of shit. You know?
Wow. Okay.
And like that's something all the
really stand
fans of the
behind
show
that.
they just don't
Because,
get.
because then you've got a superhero who's just not. I mean, that's very interesting. Usually, they're morally perfect, you know, and no one's morally perfect.
And the whole point is he's delusional,
oh,
like Batman. Like another thing about Batman is Batman's supposed to be completely insane.
Is very much like that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have that whole arc in the Civil War where there are those 2 guys that were trying to help out. They go up to like wherever the rebels were stationed, and then he walks up to them. They just say, "Hey, I like your cause," and then like Frank Castle, like less than a minute later, is filling them full of lead, and then just Captain America beats the shit out of them and throws them into the river. Like, get the fuck out.
Speaking of Captain America, I actually, my favorite movie, I believe, maybe I'm missing one, but out of all of like the new kind of shit that's going on, the sequel to Captain America, I thought, to me, that's my favorite, to tell you the truth. And I was really surprised. I still haven't seen the first one. Captain America has just historically not been a very, like, you know, character that I was crazy about in the Marvel universe. But
they always do him wrong, yeah.
What's that?
I feel like they always do him wrong. The point of Captain America is he's supposed to sort of like make you like rethink our values, and he's always supposed to be going against like the zeitgeist of America. Like even though that he's Captain America, I find his best stories are the one where like all of America's going one way, and he's
But he doesn't, it's not obvious that it's Hydra at first, and you think it's Shield, and yeah, or not Shield. Is it Shield that he
yeah, Shield.
Yeah, it's Shield. It's Shield. And yeah, I thought it was incredibly suspenseful. I thought that it kind of it took on.
Casting was perfect too. I feel.
What's that?
Like casting was perfect, especially with like Robert Redford as the bad guy, considering
Yeah,
like,
yeah, definitely.
as always being the good guy. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and also that was perfect casting because that movie was very another layer that's really great. And I just love, a lot of these, even though that a lot of these Marvel movies are really good, they're starting to feel like cutter movies. Even when they're really, really good, they're starting to feel kind of very much the same as the last thing you saw.
It's like
Whereas the
filler.
second,
It's like fillers for the Avengers. They're like,
yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
but I thought the Captain America just felt like its own thing, and
definitely better than the first one.
oh yeah, I assume it's better than the first one, and
The one with Evans. I mean,
yeah,
Apparently, what they're doing for the Spider-Man thing is that he's not gonna do another origin story for once he comes out in the.
well, that'll be good.
good,
Finally.
So yeah, so he will have already existed. So
good.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, like when seeing how that goes down. Like, I feel like the second Captain America is what like an actual Captain America comic book like feels like.
Sure.
The Civil War starts with everyone saying like, "Okay, Captain America, like go ahead and round up all the like superhero people who have not registered." And Captain America's like, "What? That's not what we do in America. We don't make people like mandatorily signed up for things." And then he becomes the biggest fugitive in the world. Like that totally follows to the second one. And like same with like Batman 3. Like not a lot of people were into that, but I feel like that's the very first Batman movie that's like an actual Batman comic.
Mhm.
Where like immediately it's all about Batman losing, and then he comes back in some like ridiculous way.
If they were to
And,
do like a
like-
DC version of Civil War, who do you think would be supporting the sides, or who do you think would be the analog for the registration side?
Oh, so Civil War was already a ripoff of Kingdom Come,
Yeah,
which
I know.
in Kingdom Come, what happens is Superman retires because there is a superhero called like Gog or Gog, like from the old George Bush quotes, and he's
I
like
think
this
the
like
Joker
crazy.
like killed like everybody at the Daily Planet or something. And then
Yeah, Superman retires and he gasses and he like bashes in Lois Lane's brains, and then Superman.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a very like it's Kingdom Come, it's the biblical DC one, and Superman shows up, kills the Joker, like retires, and like Gog sorry, it is Magog, and he's like some like this crazy like warlord superhero who like is all about murdering people. And Superman totally concedes and says, like, well, I guess I've been a complete idiot my whole life, and you need to be allowed to murder folks. And he starts this whole like breed of extremism with both superheroes and villains, where you can't tell the difference between who's the good guy and who's the bad guy because they're all just murdering everyone left and right.
Mm-hmm.
And he brings all the superheroes together to solve that by putting him into like one like superhero gulag.
Sounds like I've got some reading material to catch up on. I haven't read any of
and
the
they
shit.
had didn't Wonder Woman and Superman have a kid in that universe? A couple.
I think so. I think they try to get like back together because like Lois Lane's dead. It's the basis for like Civil War. But I think Civil War is kind of like handled better because it's like Kingdom Come is like almost like a novel where it's like a contained universe, contained setting. You don't have to know anything about the superheroes to get in on it. But with like Civil War, it changes like a whole bunch of stuff. It like a big part of Civil War is like the Green Goblin is the president of the United States, like essentially, because he's like a whole like Blackwater parallel.
Oh,
like a whole government contractor. And so he takes over, and like especially this all happened like this is all written during the Bush years, like before Obama was even like a candidate.
I think that's how they did it. I think they retconned it by having Obama get elected and repealing it. So they retconned.
I think I forget how it ends. Like, because
After the Civil War, they have Secret
really,
Invasion.
like, during that
and after Secret Invasion, they have Dark Reign. Then to cut off Dark Reign, Obama gets elected, and then he.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And then we're back to normal.
Hooray!
Then they had Fear itself, and then they had Avengers vs. X-Men.
Yeah, and I really like their whole like treaties about like the good guy and the bad guy is just generally like who's in charge at the time, but the whole like Thunderbolts being like all the nasty people, like it's like Venom and Bullseye and stuff, pretending to be heroes and killing all the actual like people trying to like actually make a difference in the world.
Oh yeah, didn't they have Frankencastle and they like killed the Punisher and then they brought him back with like magic or some bullshit?
I just really forget like the Punisher's like involvement in Civil War at all. Like it's very
he didn't really do much. He showed up and everybody's just like, oh, okay, whatever. And then he killed those guys, and then Captain America just beat him halfway to death and threw him out into the river and said, leave. So.
Did any of you guys see the new Mad Max movie?
I'm actually waiting. Like where I live, we have the video for in the Allen theaters, and I'm kind of waiting it to end up in the film theater because I really don't like watching videos and movies in digital anymore.
Well, I saw the movie. It's something I can actually talk about now.
Cool.
Oh,
I fucking love it.
Spoiler alerts, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, from everything I'm hearing about it, it sounds amazing.
It's badass. And you know what? As someone who just loves film, it's just, I think it's like, oh God, this is going to sound so pretentious, but I think it's a fucking triumph. Because this guy who is in his, I believe his 70s, maybe even like 80 now. No, I think 70. He got a remake made. He got total control over it. He did it. He filmed it. If you don't know, like there's barely any CGI in the movie. Like all the CGI is kind of like for like the backgrounds and what.
Yeah, like clouds, right?
Yeah, just to make things kind of just a little more intense. And the way that they edited it is that he and his wife, who's his editor, they edited it all. I always have a problem saying the word edited. But they edited it without any sound whatsoever, because they wanted it to have kind of like the same impact as a silent film. They wanted the visuals to dictate the story so much.
That's interesting. That's what Rupert Murdoch does. The guy who owns Fox News.
Oh well, yeah, he does.
Yeah, like he'll watch it and give his dictation like based on like visuals alone, and I feel like maybe that's probably a part of their success.
Sure, I think that's something that is excellent to do when it comes to film, and reprehensibly stupid when it comes to news.
Yeah, effective, but definitely detrimental to the dialogue and discourse.
Sure. And I think it just comes down to he wants to make sure that there's hot chicks, and he's probably too like, I don't know. He probably, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe when he listens to that stuff, he's like, man, that is bullshit. And
it's like whatever gets my taxes dropped, right?
Yeah, exactly. He knows where his bread is buttered. He's totally catering to a crowd of idiots, and he knows it. I could definitely come on sometime soon, and maybe just hit me up, man. I'll see. I'm not saying no, but I just I never know kind of like what my work schedule like. Sometimes I have like some videos that I just feel like I really need to kind of dedicate time to and whatnot. But yeah, I'm totally down to come on again. Maybe next week or sometime within the month.
Oh, the music video, the new music video was great. That was hilarious.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really nice to hear. I made that a few years ago, and I was like, okay, well, now that I've been outed, might as well like throw this thing up. Which where I initially put it, it didn't get the views that it deserves. I mean, the views that the video has now, I think exceed what it did on the other channel after a few years. So.
Yeah.
That is the power of Creationist Cat, or just having a brand, a channel that people identify, like and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But,
I think I might Twitch stream on Sunday, so I'm not sure what I'll play, but I'll just do something like I wanted to announce that informally. But I might play like Agrario or Fallout New Vegas. Okay, on to other subjects.
What about? We didn't really talk too much about Mad Max. I agree with you. I enjoyed the cinematics on it. It was shot very well. I especially liked the part where they had the poles that were going across the vehicles.
And come on, you gotta love the fucking dude playing the guitar with the skull face and the blood.
Oh yeah, the fire coming out of it.
Fire blasting.
Yeah.
All of that. I mean, it's just it is really wild, and I love that weird ass drug that they. I mean, I guess you could call it a drug that they take before they kill themselves.
What? No, that's just a can of
What the fuck
Crow.
was it? But it's the same. It's like it's so weird. It shouldn't make sense, but you just like, okay, this movie is fucking great, so I'm going with it. But I'm sorry. Were you going to say something? Were you going to like say like, but I didn't like this so much?
Actually, no, I was going to say what it was. I think it was just a can of silver paint, pretty much. Pretty much huff some paint before you die.
Oh, yeah, like huffing paint. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was yeah, I know, but it's still like some sort of like
well, you got to appease
like
the
ritual
V8.
that they do when they kill themselves, I guess.
You got to appease the V8 guys before you go to Valhalla on the Great Highway. Witness me.
And you know what? And I also really love just the the fact that it just really strong female characters, you know? I mean,
I love post-apocalyptic lore as a whole. I just love anything that has to do with after the apocalypse, where humanity picks up. Yeah, it's...
Yeah, and I definitely like the whole, especially like in horror movies and action movies, get that little bit of direness when they go with the female perspective. Because one thing I think that it always gets overlooked in like Prometheus, and why a lot of people weren't really interested in it is because it's definitely like the feminist take on like Alien, where they have that special machine where she's trying to like obviously get an abortion. Like for this unwanted pregnancy, which is the alien, and she has to term it as an infection or as like a foreign body like invading her, like a parasite or something. And I thought that was really interesting how like all of the media seemed to like gloss over what I thought was probably like the main subject of Prometheus, that whole bit where like it's not so much that the aliens are messing with Naomi, it's that she lives in man's world, you know, where a guy sort of dictates everything. Even Charlize Theron, she's like the perfect heir to this like millionaire's dynasty. She's like the natural born child, but he goes out of his way to make like an artificial man in order to replace her. And like I was wondering, like, what do you guys feel like about like that? Because I feel like that whole like message seemed to like jump over like people's heads, or maybe they like refuse to see it. I mean, I did have like issues with like
you guys think
how
we should
the
have
whole
stronger
thing
female
started.
characters in media as a whole, or
Yeah, and mainly not so much like the characters having to be like Xena quality or something like strong, but to where the perspective is straightened out.
Yeah, they have to.
So like we can like see more things from the view. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't just be like sitting in the corner like, oh, whatever shall we do? Well,
Yeah, and it was really neat to see how the Naomi character was definitely like a victim of like her circumstances, and how she was able like to overcome that above everyone else who ended up dying horribly by aliens. But I don't know. I feel like that's another movie. Like when it comes to like the feminism that definitely gets overlooked, and I don't want to sound like the vigilant Christian, but it's kind of strange how like such like a progressive movie always just seems to get just like put down without any sort of thought. I almost feel like I watched a different movie than everyone else. You know?
Obviously, she's a victim of the
story that kind of somewhat relates to Alien.